Hi guys, it's Rachel from What a Pain and I'm back with another video today where I want to speak to you about a hashtag that is currently trending on Twitter. Now, this hashtag is trending amongst people in the medical community and massively in the chronic illness community. I just want to start by saying that if swearing does offend you, well, there is going to be a bit of swearing in this video, but please don't turn off. There is only one swear word going to be used, and that is because it is part of the hashtag itself. And the whole point I'm making in this video is it's not the words of the hashtag that we should be focusing on, it's the massive issues that are behind the hashtag. You're probably wondering what that hashtag is, and it is a hashtag that came about from a video by a woman called Stevie Bobby. Basically, she shared a video on YouTube all about finally getting a diagnosis for her chronic illness. And she spoke a bit about her journey and what it had taken to get there and the difficulties that she'd had in being heard by doctors. Now, Stevie received a diagnosis of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and that is shortened to EDS. So if you do hear me mention EDS, that is what I'm talking about. If you want to find a bit more about what that is and her experience, you can find her video. I've linked that below. But the whole reason the hashtag came about was because of what Stevie said at the end of her video. And she ended it by saying, "Doctors are dickheads." Stevie, in her video, speaks about being gaslit by lots of different doctors and also sort of friends and family members. And somebody called Kim Sorda then went on Twitter to say, actually, do you know what? I would really like to see hashtag Doctors are Dickheads trending, and everyone can get their stories out about, you know, their experiences of gaslighting within the medical community. And therefore the hashtag was born, and hashtag Doctors are Dickheads became a thing. I saw the hashtag on Twitter and immediately went onto my What a Pain Twitter to share stories of my own. Now, I've already shared a lot of these stories on my blog, but I wanted to reshare those and get involved with what I thought was a really positive campaign. Hi, Blue. Now, I was aware that the hashtag Doctors are Dickheads was controversial, and I knew that it would definitely be creating a stir, and I was mindful that I wouldn't normally choose to swear on my What a Pain profiles or social media platforms. However, I made an exception because the stories that I had read prior to sharing my own were heartbreaking, and I suddenly saw all these people just like me with chronic illnesses were empowered to share their story, and somehow from this hashtag suddenly we had a voice and people were listening. People in the chronic illness community have been sharing their stories for years, just under different hashtags. People have been blogging, people have been on Facebook, people have been on Instagram, people have been on YouTube, people have been on Twitter, and we hashtag chronic illness, and we hashtag Spoonie, and we hashtag chronic life, but nobody was really listening. And suddenly this hashtag had a swear word in, and it was controversial, and people are listening. I then chose to get involved with it, despite the swear word, because I felt that the issues that were coming out under this hashtag were way, way too important to get caught up in one word. Now, there has been a lot of criticism of the hashtag, and there's been a lot of praise, and there's actually been some really amazing positive conversations that are coming out of this hashtag. Conversations between the medical community and the patients that weren't happening before this hashtag came on the scene. Yesterday, somebody commented on some of the posts that I had shared on Twitter and challenged my use of the hashtag. And I very politely explained my reasons for it. And they got really bogged down in the fact that dickhead is a swear word and saying doctors are dickheads isn't nice and it's a bit mean. But actually, that is not the point here. The things that are coming out from this hashtag are way too important for it to be written off as it's nasty and it's name calling. we need to be looking at the stories and thinking, where do we go from here? How do we move forward? And how do we create better experiences and better relationships between doctors and their patients? Now, the stories that I shared were nothing in comparison to some of the ones that I've read. I have read some genuinely heartbreaking stories where the physical and psychological harm is vast. My own experiences were bad enough. I have definitely experienced being gaslit by a doctor. The first doctor I went to see about my arthritis, as I've blogged about, told me it was in my head. They did an x-ray of one wrist, despite the fact that I had pain in both wrists and a family history of rheumatoid arthritis, and when that x-ray showed nothing, I was told it was in my head and that knowing nothing's wrong should make me feel better. What that doctor should have done is said, okay, you haven't broken your wrist, so where do we go from here? And he should have asked questions about my family history, and he should have asked about any other symptoms, and he should have been doing blood work. He did none of that. I was written off, told to go away, and it took several months, not just to build up the confidence to go back to the doctor, but also to convince a doctor to listen to me and actually get an appointment. That was hard enough in itself. Some of the other stories I shared are things like not being taken seriously by GPs to such an extent I ended up hospitalised, having some really bad results with my liver, which was related to an infection, which wasn't picked up on, and I was told, oh, it's just your painkillers, and then told by my wonderful rheumatologist, because there are good doctors, that actually no morphine wouldn't do that to your liver, and you've got an infection which has caused an acute flare, and actually you need steroids, not loads of painkillers pumped through you. Other experiences have been the doctor who did not understand the concept of seronegative inflammatory arthritis and therefore decided that I must have broken both of my ankles simultaneously without knowing, and inflicted x-rays on me which were totally unnecessary and caused me a lot of pain, and ignored every other symptom that I had, and they were many. So yeah, those are just a few of mine, and there are so many more, but this isn't about my personal experiences. This is about the hashtag as a whole and everybody's stories. Now, obviously, there's a lot of people kind of fighting about this on Twitter, and it's something that evokes a really passionate response, and it should. But that response should be about the right thing. We should not be getting bogged down by the word dickhead or the hashtag doctors are dickheads. That is not the point of this. And it almost infuriates me that we're making it more about what the hashtag says and more about the fact that the hashtag is controversial or might offend somebody. No, if you are bogged down in the fact that you don't like the wording of a hashtag, you are missing the point, and to be honest, you're part of the problem. Be part of the solution. Read people's stories. Don't get annoyed because they put the words hashtag doctors are dickheads. Look at their story and be annoyed and upset that they've experienced something so traumatic, so difficult, and so avoidable in most cases. Now, it's not all bad. There have been some amazing conversations that have come out of this hashtag, and a lot of them have come from people in the medical community really listening. And I just wanted to talk to you about a few of those tweets because they were just so amazing to read, and they really got what people were trying to say. There was one here from a lady called Serena, and she said, "Last week I made 3 patients cry just by saying, I believe you." That is incredible, and I know how much power is in those words, because the first time somebody said to me, I believe you, I was blown away. But here's the problem. That is a rare thing, and that is why it was so shocking, and you think, yes, wow, and that's why people cry. A doctor should be believing patients. They should believe you when you say you are suffering or struggling or in pain or whatever other symptoms you bring to them. Their job is to believe you and investigate that. Their job is not to write you off and dismiss you or gaslight you. And we shouldn't be saying, wow, yes, there's an awesome doctor who believes people. We should be questioning why that's so shocking and surprising and why it's not the norm. I have met some great doctors, but the majority have not been great. I have had way more negative experiences than I have positive. And I go in, when I meet a new doctor, geared up for a fight. Not to be confrontational with them, but because I'm expecting them to put up resistance, put up barriers, dismiss me, not believe me, or minimise what I'm experiencing. And when a doctor does believe me, or says, okay, I hear what you're saying, this is what we're going to do, or I'm not quite sure how to help, let's refer you to someone who can, I am blown away and I don't know where to go from there. I'm like, oh, okay, I have nothing because I was geared up to convince you. And that's wrong. Being ill is exhausting and hard enough without having to battle to make a doctor believe what you're saying and take it seriously and do their job and find out what is wrong with you. Now, I know that there have been some doctors fighting really hard against this hashtag, and I understand why it's offensive to them, but you should be offended and you should be horrified at what your fellow clinicians are doing to people. Because these stories are not a few, these stories are thousands. Thousands of stories are coming out, and it is the norm, not the exception, for people to have a bad experience. Good doctors, you can be part of the solution by listening and recognising and standing up and standing in solidarity with patients. To the doctors on Twitter who have said, hey, how can you expect someone to make a diagnosis in the first, appointment? It's a rare disease, or it's this or that. No one's asking anyone to do that. But if somebody walks in to your practice, don't dismiss their symptoms. Nobody is saying they want to be diagnosed in a first appointment. It's not possible. That's not how medicine works. We get there are tests and there are procedures to follow. But if you run a test, like the X-ray on my wrist, and then when it doesn't show a broken bone, you say, okay, well, it's in your head, then you are massively wrong. And I'm sorry, but that's just not a mistake. That's not just human error. That is a conscious decision to write a patient off. And had that doctor listened to me and taken me seriously, I might not have spent 18 months fighting for a diagnosis, because damage could be done in that time. Damage to my joints, damage to the organs which are affected by the autoimmune disease that I have. That could have been avoided. And 18 months is short, believe me. I have been reading stories this week about people who have fought for 20 years to be taken seriously and given a diagnosis. And that is a problem, and that is what this hashtag is about. Doctors are human, of course they are, but treat people with compassion and care. Don't write them off or dismiss them. And if you don't know how to help, say, I believe you, I really want to help you, but I'm not sure how. Those words would mean so much to a patient rather than them being told it's in their head because you don't have the answers. Refer to specialists, get second opinions. Just show patients that you care about them and want to help. We don't expect you to know every single thing in the world. We do expect you to treat us with respect and dignity and not just write us off or dismiss us. I think one of the most important hashtags I saw from a doctor this week was from someone called Rana. Reading the hashtag doctors are dickhead stories and letting them break my heart. No defences up. We fail patients daily, and there are pervasive, systematic issues we need to come together to address and to heal. And that will come, just not today. Today is for listening. And I think that sums it up beautifully. I'm almost getting emotional there. Because she is so right. This hashtag is not about arguing about the wording of the hashtag or telling people that their experiences aren't valid because they've used a hashtag that's deemed to be abusive, or telling people they don't have your respect because they used a hashtag you don't agree with. This hashtag is about the stories behind them, and they are heartbreaking. So please, I am asking you, like so many incredible doctors are stepping up now and doing, listen. Listen to what people are saying. We now have this incredible voice that would not have come about without this controversial hashtag. and let's use that voice for good. Let's not be screaming and fighting over Twitter. Doctors, you don't get to tell a patient that their experience isn't valid or they're wrong or they don't understand how the system works. None of that is relevant. Our experiences are our experiences, and they happened and they're real and they're not rare and they're not just these little mistakes. There are people out there who are practicing medicine who are making a conscious decision to dismiss people or write them off because it's too complex to diagnose them. I've experienced it myself many, many, many times, and if I need to use a controversial hashtag to share those stories and try and work towards change, then that is exactly what I'm going to do. This hashtag is creating an opportunity for change. It's creating an opportunity for doctors and patients to build better relationships moving forward. It's creating the opportunity for us to have educational, helpful, productive discussions. But by getting bogged down in the words of a hashtag, you are missing the point. I would urge everybody to get on Twitter and find the stories underneath the hashtag Doctors Are Dickheads and read them. And keep reading and keep reading and listen to them and take them in. And then tell me there's not really a problem here, or that the hashtag and the wording of it is more important than the stories that these very real people are experiencing every single day. I get that there are people out there who are saying this is turning people off, you know, people don't want to read about their profession being terrible. Nobody is saying all doctors are terrible people. I'm not even talking about them as people. I mean, yes, they're people, but I'm talking about their profession and how they choose to act within their professional role. And there is a problem here. And it is a very real and dangerous problem. And a good doctor can be the difference between you holding on to hope and giving up entirely. Believe me when I say that is so very true. I am fortunate to have an incredible rheumatologist, and I will be forever grateful for the way that he treats me with respect and dignity and listens to me and works with me. But that does not excuse the doctors that came before him who treated me like I was nothing. Anyway, guys, that's all I'm going to say for this video. Obviously, it does evoke a lot of powerful emotions, and, you know, I get that it's stirring up a lot for people. I just wanted to put my voice out there and say, let's use this for good. And let's focus on what really matters here. Let's focus less on the words of a hashtag and more about what's going on behind that. And let's start having some educational discussions where we work together and figure out how we move forward from here. If you've got any thoughts on this, I'd love to hear from you. As always, please put your comments down below. Give this video a like and make sure you subscribe so you never miss any future videos. And perhaps most importantly, give this video a share. Let's continue those conversations and let's try to help move forward as patients and doctors working together.